Right. Hello to those of you who have joined us. We're just giving a few more minutes to allow others who have registered to join the meeting. We'll be starting shortly. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We're just going to give it maybe one more minute while we allow others to join, and then we'll make a start. Right, I think we'll make a start. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. My name's George and I'm the Project Officer for the Cannock Chase SAC Partnership. And I'm joined here today with Adam, and he is Managing Director of Ethos Consultants, who's working with me on this project today. So thank you for giving up your time this evening to find out more about the project and what we're doing here. So I'm sure you're aware that Cannock Chase is a very special place, and the partnership has been set up by several local authorities to meet their responsibilities to managing the impacts of increased populations in the area. And that is because the areas we're concerned with are special areas of conservation, and that is the highest designation that land can have in the UK. So the way I like to explain it is, you may be familiar with the term Site of Special Scientific Interest, or SSSI, and those are areas that are designated because they have nationally important habitats and species, and Special Area of Conservation are for areas that have internationally special habitats and species. Most of the SAC is also SSSI, and most of the SSSIs are also SAC on Cannock Chase, but that's not necessarily exactly the same, but in most cases it is. So the reason that Cannock Chase has been designated as a SAC is because of its lowland heath, or Atlantic heath is its actual term, and that is a habitat that's only found on the very western edges of Europe. It's found nowhere else in the world but there. So you will get it on the very edges of Europe, from Norway down to Portugal, and in the UK and Ireland. So while heathland is quite a common habitat to our British eyes, it's very rare elsewhere in the world. And our habitat that we've got here on Cannock Chase, it's the largest area of heathland in the Midlands, is rapidly declining. And the RSPB believe that across the whole of the UK and Ireland, we've lost about 80% of our heathland in the last 200 years. And what people like me are trying to do is work with our landowners and our partners to prevent that happening any further, particularly when it comes to Cannock Chase. So The reason we are looking at this piece of work on Cannock Chase at the moment is because those of you who have long memories will recall that in 2019, a review was done of how Cannock Chase is managed, and the detailed implementation plans on how to mitigate the effects of increasing population on the Chase were published. Amongst those plans, Chase Road was left out. It was considered too important and too special to be covered in that broad-reaching plan and needed a more detailed look. And that is what we're doing now. We're taking that more detailed look at how we manage the impacts along Chase Road, and particularly because Chase Road runs between two very important areas of SAC, which are the Sherbrook Valley and the Old Acre Valley. So it has a huge amount of impact on those very special habitats. So what we're trying to do here is make sure that Cannock Chase survives for future generations. We know that heathland, once lost, doesn't come back. And we know that because of activities during the Second World War, where heathlands were ploughed for food production unsuccessfully because of the nature of their soils. And we can't now restore those heathlands onto those sites. So we know that we cannot get it back. So widely, they're understood as irreplaceable habitats. Therefore, we need to do something to make sure we maintain them. We know we have increasing numbers of visitors to the Chase, and we know that over time, how we visit changes. And that has probably changed in your lifetimes, as it has in mine, into how we visit these special sites, and what we're allowed to do on these special sites has changed as pressures change. But what we're trying to do is to make sure that Cannock Chase remains, as most of us remember it, for future generations to enjoy. And if we don't, people, your grandchildren, will be asking the people who are doing my job in 20 years' time, we knew there was a problem, and why didn't we do anything about it? And so this is us trying to address those issues. So what we're going to do this evening is I'm going to stop talking now and hand over to Adam, who's going to run you through the work we've been doing around Chase Road and our options for how to sustainably manage motor vehicles along that route. And then we're going to answer some questions that have been pre-submitted. There is a question and answer section that you can find on your screens there. You can submit questions to it, but we won't be answering those ones today. We'll be answering the ones that have been submitted beforehand. And if your questions that you've submitted today are different to ones that we've already received, then we will respond to those, and those will go up onto the consultation hub via which you booked today. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Adam.
Thanks, George, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Just to start with initially, just to advise that we are recording this presentation. So if for whatever reason you cannot stay with us for the entire length, then no worries. You'll be able to sort of review the presentation at your own leisure, as it will be uploaded onto the consultation hub. So what I will do is I will share the slides that I've got. And hopefully that is coming through for everyone. So in terms of what we are looking to cover this evening, there's 8 areas that sort of I want to focus on. So I'll start by giving an overview of the project and the sort of the process that we've been through. I'll then sort of quickly outline the long list of options that we have looked at. And I think it's important to do that because I think a lot of the early comments and concerns that have been raised have been around certain options that aren't included in the consultation, but there's every chance that they were looked at as part of our early investigations, and there are legitimate reasons why we've not included them in the consultation exercise. After that, we'll then sort of focus on the actual shortlisting of the options, just to sort of describe the process that we've gone through, which then sort of takes us on to the prioritized options, what they are and how we got there. We then have a quick look at how we've scored the options, and that is by no means preempting the options that's going to be taken forward. That's just us creating a assessment matrix to understand how the options would score based on a certain criteria to allow us to fulfill the completion of the options appraisal before the consultation, I may add. And there will be an opportunity for us to review those options in conjunction with the consultation results. We'll then have a brief look at the potential delivery costs, and that's quite difficult at this stage because we are quite early in the process, so it is quite a high level sort of consideration. We'll then touch on what we are including as part of the public consultation in case you're not aware, and then we will finish by trying to address your questions and answers. So in terms of our remit as the consultants that have been working with the SAC on the project, we have been looking at this over an 8-stage process. Initially, we wanted to develop a sort of an overarching vision and objectives, and that's because it is really important for us